You have $105 million. The coffee cost you $3.27. You chose the small size. Not because you had to, because you already won. $105 million. Sitting in a plastic chair under fluorescent light. No one in this building knows your name. You do not know it yet, but this moment, this exact, unremarkable Thursday morning, is the ending you spent 14 years building toward. Across the street, a man parks a black SUV that costs more than most people make in 3 years. He adjusts his tie in the reflection of the window. He checks his phone before he even reaches the door. He needs everyone in the room to feel him arrive. You watched him do this. You recognized something. You used to be him. Not the money. The need. That is the part no one talks about, the spending that has nothing to do with the thing you bought. You were 29 years old, pulling in $94,000 a year, and somehow always $400 short at the end of the month. The apartment in the right neighborhood. The car that said something about you before you even opened your mouth. The watch that turned a handshake into a conversation. You were not buying objects. You were buying a room's opinion of you. And the room never stayed satisfied. Here is what you cannot see from inside that loop. You were paying a recurring fee to feel like a person. Every month, automatically, invisibly. A tax on needing to be seen. Most people pay it their entire lives and never name it. They call it lifestyle. They call it success. They call it what happens when you finally start making real money. Does this sound like someone you know, or someone you are? The man in the tie is inside now. He orders without looking at the menu. He speaks to the cashier without looking at the cashier. He takes the corner table, opens his laptop, and positions it so the logo faces the room. You have seen his financials. Not his specifically, but his category. You have seen what lives inside the performance. The lease on the SUV runs through next spring. The apartment is mortgaged at the edge of what the bank approved. The watch is real. The investment account is not. He looks like he is winning. He is not winning. The specific moment everything shifted for you was not dramatic. There was no rock bottom. No single catastrophic loss. It was a Tuesday. You sat down and did the actual math, not the number that made you feel good, the number that was true. You calculated what the car had cost you over 4 years. Purchase price, interest, insurance premium, depreciation. Then you calculated what that same monthly outflow, invested consistently in a broad market index fund, would have produced over that same period. The gap was $41,000. $41,000. Gone. In exchange for a vehicle now worth less than half of what you paid. And the worst part was not the number. The worst part was that you had done this with everything. The apartment. The clothes. The restaurants. Spending money to produce an impression that dissolved the moment you left the room. You did not become frugal. That is not what happened. What happened was simpler and harder than that. You started asking one question before every purchase. What is this worth in 11 years? Not what does this cost? What is this worth in 11 years compounded? Sometimes the answer was still yes. A mattress. A doctor. A flight to see someone who mattered. Some things are worth their cost and their opportunity cost both. But most things were not. Most things were the room's opinion, rented by the month. The next 4 years looked like nothing from the outside. That is the part they do not warn you about. The silence. The years when the account is growing, but there is no ceremony. No one throws a party when your net worth crosses 200,000. No one calls at 500. The scoreboard is invisible. The progress is real and completely private, and most people cannot survive that. They need the applause more than they need the result. They spend the return before it compounds because the waiting feels like losing. You have just learned something most people spend their entire financial lives never understanding. The gap between investing and not investing is not a gap in knowledge. It is a gap in the ability to feel a number that does not yet exist as something real. The years when nothing happens on the outside are the years when everything happens. You do not know it yet, but the Tuesday you ran that calculation, the Tuesday you sat alone with the true number, that was already the win. Everything after was arithmetic. There was a man at the firm where you worked. Marcus. He was promoted twice before you. He wore it visibly. New car each time. New apartment. His lifestyle expanded to meet every raise before the raise cleared. You watched him do this and felt something that was not quite envy and not quite pity, a specific discomfort you cannot name yet. Marcus made more than you for 7 years. Marcus filed for personal bankruptcy protection in the spring of year 8. It was not one event. It was the structure. The structure meant that any disruption, a job loss, a health issue, a quarter where the bonus did not come, immediately became crisis. He had no floor. He had only ceiling. And the ceiling is only comfortable until the moment it is not. The floor is the thing no one teaches you to build. A floor means a job loss is a problem you solve over 6 months. Not a catastrophe that takes the apartment and the car and the credit score in the same week. A floor means you can say no to the wrong opportunity because you are not desperate. A floor means the worst thing that can realistically happen to you is uncomfortable, not permanent. You do not know it yet, but the floor you were quietly building during the invisible years, the years with no applause and no visible scoreboard, that floor was the only thing that would matter when the moment came. The moment came. 3 years ago, the firm restructured. Your position was eliminated. 48 hours notice. A severance that covered 11 weeks. Around you, people you had worked alongside for years moved immediately into panic. The mortgage payments. The lease payments. The credit card minimums. The structure of their lives demanded income the way an engine demands fuel, continuously, without interruption, with no reserve. You came home. You made coffee. You opened the account. You were not comfortable. You were not happy. But you were not afraid. And the absence of fear in a moment that should produce fear, that is almost impossible to describe to someone who has not felt it. It changes the quality of every decision you make from that point forward. You do not negotiate from desperation. You do not accept the first offer. You do not take the wrong job because the silence has become unbearable. You took 5 months. The decision held. The man in the tie has finished his coffee. He is on a call now, voice slightly louder than necessary. He says the word opportunity 4 times in 90 seconds. He is performing solvency. You have seen this performance from the inside. You know exactly what it costs. This is the part of the story where the person is supposed to feel superior. That is not what you feel. What you feel is something closer to tired recognition. The version of you that needed the room to know, that version is not gone. Is just quiet. It got quiet slowly, then all at once, somewhere in the middle of the invisible years. Not as a decision. As a consequence. The money came after. Not with the discipline. Not alongside the discipline. After. After the number in the account became more real than the number on the watch. After you stopped performing and started building. $105 million. Thursday morning. $3 coffee. You do not need the room to know. The room was never going to give you what you were actually looking for. That is the thing no one figures out until they stop looking there. You finish the coffee. You fold the cup. You walk out through the same door as everyone else. No one looks up. That is exactly how you built it.